Okay, I'm here in class and I was showing the class how to start a document in Canva. And the way that you do that is you go to custom size, you make sure that it is on inches. And I am doing mine landscape, so it's an 8 by 10. When I create a new, I have just a shape here. And everybody is already kind of thinking of what picture they're going to use. But what I'm saying, for this first one, we're going to go ahead and do a background on it. And we're going to create that background in black for this first one. Okay. So there's my black background, and this black background is going to be a frame. This isn't, you picked a photo of it. Yeah. Okay. So the black is going to be my frame. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to elements, and I'm going to get what's called shapes. Wow. If you just push shapes, then a bunch of different shapes will show up. But what I really needed, I actually just needed this square right here, right? Because the square is going to, I'm going to make the square the same shape as my frame. So right now it kind of, when it gets to the size of the frame, it kind of clicks in. So, oops, I went a little farther. So my gray, which was my square, which was a shape, is now the same size as the frame color. So your frame color is white? No. I was looking at Angela's. All right. So my frame is the black color behind it, right? So on top of the black color, I have a rectangle. And what I'm going to do is I have to take it from the corner and bring it in. And this is going to be my matting. And it will help you decide the shape of, nope, not from the top, from the corner. Oh, yeah. Take it from the corner. Yep. And then it's on. Now, yes, hold on. So this one right here was the black background. And now that's my frame. So do I want a small frame or a big frame? So right now I have a regular size frame, but what if I want just a tiny, a thin frame? There's a thin frame. What if I want, usually you don't have a thick frame, but you're deciding how it is. So depending on how big you want your frame is how big you make the second color. And I haven't even talked about colors yet. Square. Okay. McKenna, will you look at and make sure she gets that stretched out? Okay. So now is when it'd be really good for me to know what colors were in my picture, because I want to create a matting. So here's the frame, here's the matting for what my picture is going to be. And my picture is going to be something that, well, I picked it earlier. It's a Christmassy picture. One of my students did a few years ago. Let's see. Oh, here, I'll pick my daughter. Nope. They have to be this, if this is landscape, the picture that you put in has to be landscape as well. If you are putting in something from your cell phone, you're gonna actually probably have to do some cropping, but we'll do that later. Ooh. Oh, it's baseball day today. I'll use the baseball picture. So this is my husband and I wearing San Francisco hats at a Dodger game in Southern California. We were not received very well. But I want to center that first, and I'll see that with the pink lines. And I want to go back to my rectangle here, and I want to pick a matting color. So I can go up here. Of course, the regular color that's going to be is probably going to be, you know, a white or a beige. That's what most people use for matting, is a white or a beige. But the way that you change the colors, you make sure you clicked on the that was the square, but now it's a rectangle. You go up to this rainbow up here, and you click new color, and that's where you can pick any color you want. So I don't like orange, but if I wanted to do sort of a hue of orange because it has San Francisco, you know, I could really, I couldn't have this in my house, you guys. That's too much orange for me. Okay. Yes, because yeah, you're gonna have to crop your photo. So what you need to do is maybe stretch it to the size of this. Okay. So right now you have a really big picture and it's really small mat. So you might want to make your matting a little bit smaller because larger, because matting usually helps set off the picture inside. You don't typically have a matting that's like you'll sometimes see them like this, but you'll hardly ever see anything that's like this. Right now, my picture needs to be cropped. So for those of you who are using cell phones, I'm gonna have to crop this in order to make it the same shape. There, that's better. Now, if you see my matting is still the same color. I mean, same, you know, an inch all the way around or half inch. You don't want the whatever the frame is or the matting to be bigger on one side. That would just be weird looking, right? So you want everything centered. So they all have to be the same dimension rectangle. And this is kind of cool. If you click on your picture, okay, let's see, I'm going to get back to colors. So I'm going to go out here to my color. And then if I click on my picture, no, it's not doing it. Sometimes your computer will be smart enough to pick what colors are in the document. It says that I only have orange and black in my document, but that's not true. It's not reading this. But sometimes it'll give you like, you know, 5 or 6 or 7 shades to choose from. So this is still not, typically this is not big enough, and you haven't centered this. First, you have to make this and then so this is great. This actually looks great. But what would happen if you got it covered? I was like, look, hers did come up. Look, but yours did too. Photo colors. I know, but what I'm saying is, see that how that comes up? And then you can play around with that. So it did happen for those of you who are watching. It did happen with one of the other students that she went here and she tapped there and photo colors came up, but mine are not coming up and I don't know why. So yeah. So if you have something right here that has like 5 colors that are in the photo, that's what they're using in the class. And they were able to change this background color a couple different times to match colors in the photo. So I might try it. So this is actually, my husband's wearing gray, but there's a lot of blue in there because we were, you know, downtown. And there's actually a lot more blue in my picture, which when I mat it with blue, it actually makes the San Francisco on our hats really stand out a lot more. Of course, I would put blue on my wall in my house. I would not put orange on my wall in my house. That's all I'm going to say about that. And I really loved this shirt. It was from Disneyland and it was striped and said Disneyland and I don't have it anymore. Okay, so you're going to do 3 of these. And I would suggest all of them need to be, 2 of them at least have to have rectangular shaped frames. But if on your 3rd one, when you do your 3rd one and you go to elements, if you want to do, please don't do triangle, that's awful. But if you want to kind of play around with some of these, like one year I had some students use this down here, which was okay for one, But I didn't really like it on every single one of their frames, if that makes sense. Because you're not going to do something like this on every picture that you ever make. You're going to do that on a special picture, if that makes sense. So if you're going to do something like that, you would still, I'm not really doing it correctly. You would take it up here, you would make it the same size first, just so you get your dimensions correct. And then you would go from the corner to shrink it to the size that you need it. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. And I don't particularly like that because it's too frilly for me. But if you want to do one that has something kind of special with that, by the way, these dimensions aren't quite right, then you are welcome to do that. But honestly, most of the time when people mat or frame something, most of the time they are going to just use a plain color frame and a plain color matting. But you know, you can be creative in Canva. So I need two with just rectangles, and they can be landscape or they can be portrait. Here's a portrait one I did earlier today, if I can find it. Here, I'll show you. I made it earlier today. Nope, that's not it either. Anyway, I have one that I made earlier today that was up and down a portrait. That's all I'm going to say to the people at home, and I will do a quick tutorial about doing this on your phone later.